Are mortgage rates coming down? Is the market shifting to a more buyer's market? Renters might be getting a little bit more leverage now. Today, we are going to be talking about getting some real estate chisme. I want to go over what's been going on recently in the real estate game, but also I want to do a little recap of a conference that I went to hosted by One Rental at a Time, the key takeaways from there. So, first up, the average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage fell to 6.01% for the week ending in February 19th. So, probably by the time I release this episode, it's going to be a little bit higher, but that is crazy because it has not dropped that low for quite some time. This is good news because it is making obviously the loan more affordable. That means you can, if you had a really high interest rate, you can now go refinance. So that's an option, especially for those that are having to refinance out of a deal. That's great news because I know a lot of like flippers and burr people, they were kind of struggling a little bit more trying to make the numbers work. Now, again, there's several factors that play into how mortgage rates come down. For example, mortgage rates are usually tied to the 10-year treasury yields, and recently the 10-year treasury yield dropped. So that's kind of one of the things. There's also other factors to that come into play like inflation, economic growth, the job market. Several things contribute to these mortgage rates. Now, are these going to continue dropping? I'm not sure. I'm not an expert. A few weeks ago, you would probably see people saying, like, you know what, it's never going to come back down, or it's not going to come back down anytime soon. It's actually going to go up. And then, bam, it dipped to 6.01%. But in the end, you just got to be prepared. Yes, there's still deals out there. I'm currently under contract with one. And, I just ran my numbers at 7%. And then now I can possibly get a better rate. But again, I'm not too concerned because the numbers work at that high 7%, even 7.5%. So as you're going out there looking for your investments, properties, yes, pay attention to the interest rates, obviously, but don't let that deter you or influence you in waiting and just thinking like, oh, you know what? I'm going to wait until I get a lower interest rate because it looks like it's coming down. If a deal works, go for it. Which brings me to the second thing that I've been seeing, and I've been noticing it as well, is that is the market shifting more to a buyer's market? And in this area specifically, I've been kind of noticing that the price of homes has been dropping, and I think it was Bigger Pockets, I'll link it down below, that did a really good real estate market analysis on it. But the price of homes has been dropping. US home sales have fallen 6%. Some of it is because, of course, it was the winter time, and then we also had that big freeze storm that hit a lot of the country. So not everybody was out shopping. That caused a lot of houses to sit. And so that's kind of like a shift as well. But I've also been noticing the sales prices have started to come down, and not necessarily a correction, but just kind of like more sellers are realizing, having this realization that, you know what, like you are overcharging for some of these properties. And let me tell you, before I went under contract with this one, and even with this one, like these sellers were trying to get like above market value of comps, basically. And these properties needed some work. And I was like, I am not going to pay top dollar for this property that still needs a lot of work. So I was able to like knock off almost 25K off the list price. And mind you, they had already come down from their original list price because it had been sitting in the market for like 200 plus days. So I don't know what they were thinking, but I was able to negotiate, them paying for my realtor, the commission, and a few other things. But depending on your market, you might be seeing that shift as well. Yeah, sellers are having kind of a reality check basically. So I think we're seeing that. So not necessarily a correction per se. I think it's just becoming more realistic to what people are willing to pay. And I've also been seeing that properties take a lot longer to go under contract. And I've been seeing them sit for like 30 plus days and even in some cases a long time. Like the property that I bought, 200 plus days. We still have the problem of the housing inventory. So don't expect that there's going to be this super correction or that the housing market is going to crash because at the end of the day, we're still short a lot of housing that people need. So I'm curious to see in what market you are investing in and if you've been seeing a shift. For example, Texas and Florida, I'm in Texas, so definitely seeing that. We're having kind of drop in home sales price. And that's because for example, Florida, a lot of people started kind of like leaving because of like hurricanes, the insurance, and all these other factors that go into play. And so these house prices are starting to drop. And I think that's what's going on with here because one thing specifically in my market that I've noticed is that they want home sales prices up here and for the investments properties. But the rental market is not, there's a big, big gap. So those sales prices are not like matching to, or doesn't make it worth it to buy that investment property because you're just not going to be making any money, right? But again, I want to know where you are investing and if you are starting to see a shift. I'm curious to see what's your experience. So drop that down in the comments. Now, the next thing is that the rental market has shifted. According to the realtor.com January 2026 report, it has noticed some increases in vacancies in certain markets. And one of the ones that they are seeing a change is Milwaukee. And I invest in that one. And I definitely have seen that shift. This one, as a matter of fact, I still have one unit that has not been occupied. I didn't think anything of it because it was the winter time. Usually when I have a turnover during the winter, I am not expecting that I'm going to get a tenant right away because who wants to move during snowstorms? And again, we had this big old freeze that hit everybody. So, not surprised that nobody wanted to move around that time. Now, overall, the US rental market, the average rental vacancy was 7.6% in 2025. But in some cases, for example, Milwaukee, where I have three duplexes in there, it has gone up to 10.8%. So no wonder that I still have that one unit that is vacant. Now, I already knew I wanted to shift my market. I still going to keep those rentals there, but I want to diversify my portfolio for reasons like this. So now I'm investing over here in Texas, again under contract. So I'm going to start building a portfolio over here. I'll have my Milwaukee and then I'll pick another one because with real estate, you do not want to put your eggs all in one basket or in one market because as you can see, you never know how the rental market is going to go. Now Milwaukee's having a 10.8% vacancy rate. And so that's something to keep in mind as I navigate my rentals in this area. I'm not too worried about it. Yes, the vacancies, suck, but the other unit is rented, so it covers that mortgage. So I just gotta hang in there until I get another tenant in there. The good news, if you are looking to get into one of these markets, that means you could possibly find some deals out there. If you find a deal and you can make it work, then it still works, right? But just keep in mind that it might just take a little bit longer to fill that vacancy and adjust your strategy and keep in mind that it might affect more your cash flow. It might reduce that cash flow because you're going to have a longer time period for vacancies. So I would probably adjust whatever percentage you use a little bit higher. That's what I'm going to do next with the next property that I buy. And again, I'm curious to see how your markets are doing. Like, are you noticing the vacancies increasing? Are you affected by some of these? Like, are you investing in Milwaukee as well and seeing the struggle now? Let me know down below. And the last real estate chisme that I want to talk about is the importance of networking and finding people that have the similar goals, mindset, and finding a supportive community that will motivate you and hype you up because real estate is definitely stressful and finding somebody or a community that can help you is definitely a game changer. And I've been part of a lot of masterminds, but this past weekend over the Valentine's Day weekend, I went to One Rental at a Time's conference. It was a 2 day conference over there in Las Vegas. Fun, and I met a lot of cool people, and I really enjoyed it because there was a lot of things that I learned, and he had Pace Morby on there. If you don't know him, he is really well known for his sub two deals, and he's a big influencer. And I think he has a TV show with, I think it was A&E or something. Michael Zuber is definitely creating a community that is catered more to like the W-2 uh, people, just regular real estate investors. And that's what I really enjoyed because let me tell you, it does get lonely out here because I don't know a lot of people that invest in real estate besides online. So it was nice to go somewhere to a conference where, number one, not everyone's all stuffy because sometimes when you go to these real estate investing events, they get really kind of corporate and people that just kind of want to one up each other. And I didn't get the vibe, and I definitely didn't experience that with this one. So I just wanted to say that that's an awesome community, and he is hosting these conferences every year. And the next one, I think he always hosts them like in January and February. So plan to go to the next one because I had a blast. I learned a lot, and of course, there's only so much new things that you can teach, right? But I also enjoyed the speakers because he not only had Pace Morby, but also just regular people from his own community that I learned a lot from learning how to do some self-care, make sure you're tracking that as you build this real estate, and also ensuring that if you are in a relationship that you are taking care of that relationship as well. And Lindsay and I, we did an episode on how to talk to your partner or your spouse on getting into real estate investing because that's such an important thing to do is to make sure that your spouse is on board because the last thing you want to do is put a strain in the relationship and it ends that relationship, and that in turn not only do you lose your spouse, but also that comes with financial things attached to that, right? I started investing when I was single. So then when I got married, then it was like, oh, now we got to kind of like join finances and have to kind of like merge our goals and stuff. So again, we did a podcast episode, an episode, I'll link it down in the description. The other one was from a pastor, and he talked about, I think he called it like messy, like it was mental, emotional, and spiritual, right? And a spiritual can mean anything. It doesn't have to be religious per se, but all of those are definitely things that you need to also account for as you build your real estate investing business, but not just, I mean, with anything, right? You want to make sure that you just take care of yourself because let me tell you, as a first gen immigrant, you really have this drive and this ambition to kind of like prove yourself, and that can kind of, well, not kind of, because it's happened to me where I'm so focused on like trying to succeed because I got to prove myself and I got to make my parents' sacrifice worth it and all that, that I neglected a lot of self-care. And so I'm learning that now and trying to kind of pull back. I'm starting to delegate a lot of stuff and create systems, which by the way brings me to like Pace Morbies. That dude talked for like, I think it was like 2.5 hours, and I was sat. I was like sat just like focus. One of the things that I had to reflect on was that you can't really help everybody, and that's kind of like counter to what I've been trying to do. But the problem with that is that, for example, it's just me, right, and Lynn, when she's on here, but it is just me, and I only have so much time. I only have so much energy, so I really need to be more strategic on who I'm trying to reach. And at the beginning, I was also trying to reach kind of like the general public. I think my net was too wide. And so that was kind of like a little bit stressful because I was getting people that like just weren't ready quite yet. Doesn't mean they're not motivated or they're bad or whatever. It's just they just weren't at that stage where I can actually come in and help them. And so I was spending time on that. And that was kind of like a response to someone talking about how they're struggling to motivate those around them to kind of like get into real estate. And so that's definitely something that I've been struggling with, but you just got to learn like you can't just help everyone. At the end of the day, they're just going to resent you. If they're your friend or family, whatever, they're just going to start avoiding you and everything. So you're on social media, you're just gonna annoy them and they're just gonna unfollow anyways. So yeah, I'm gonna be more strategic. And so that brings me to creating a community in school. I've been trying to do this on Instagram and all that, but I'm finding that I need somewhere where I can create a community where people are more ready. Because if they're in the school platform, they're already looking to try to learn. And so they're already a step ahead. Whereas if I'm just doing it on Instagram, yeah, they might see it. I post something cool about real estate. They're like, oh, that's cool, like or whatever, or follow. But, that's pretty much it. They're just not ready. They're just not there yet. But I really want to have it somewhere where I could interact with other women, other Latinas who are wanting or are already investing in real estate. By the time this is out, I'm going to at least have it set up. So if you are interested, I'm going to link it down below. You could join. It's still in the works, right? It's going to be free and then eventually have tiers on different types of content and so on. But I want the community to be somewhat free, at least for now. And then if I see if I'm getting to like spammy people, because I think that's one of the issues as well, you might get just some randos just joining. Again, if you're interested, I will have it down below. Other than that, again, let me know your thoughts about uh what's going on currently with the real estate market. What are your thoughts? Has your markets been affected? Are you going to change anything in your strategy? I'm curious to know. Make sure you comment down below. Again, there's a lot of random links down there that you could check out. But other than that, I'll see you in the next one.